Chapter 4. The Collector's Gambit. The dimly lit corridors of the Enchanter's Circus felt charged with an undercurrent of tension as Sophia and Alexander hurried through the labyrinthine backstage area. Their footsteps echoed against the weathered wooden beams, the weight of their mission pressing heavily upon them. "We must find the Collector's trail before it goes cold," Alexander said, his brow furrowed with a mix of determination and concern. "The very heartbeat of the circus is at stake, and we cannot afford any missteps." Sophia nodded, her hazel eyes narrowed in concentration as she retraced the path she had taken earlier, searching for any clues that might lead them to the mysterious figure's lair. The enchanter's words still rang in her ears, the trust he had placed in her abilities both humbling and daunting. "I'll retrace my steps, see if I can pick up his trail," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "If the Collector is truly as obsessed with the circus's magic as you say, then he'll have left some kind of breadcrumb for us to follow." Alexander offered her an encouraging nod, his hand briefly squeezing her shoulder. "I have faith in you, Sophia. Your unique insight may be the key to unraveling the Collector's plans." With a deep breath, Sophia set off, her senses heightened as she navigated the labyrinth of backstage corridors. The air seemed to hum with an electric charge, and she couldn't shake the feeling of unseen eyes watching her every move. As she neared the secluded alcove where she had first glimpsed the Collector, Sophia's steps slowed, her gaze sweeping the shadows for any sign of the mysterious figure. The space was eerily quiet, save for the distant, muffled sounds of the ongoing circus performance. Kneeling down, Sophia carefully examined the floor, her nimble fingers tracing the worn wooden boards for any telltale clues. It was then that she noticed a faint shimmer, a barely perceptible distortion in the air just beyond the alcove. Sophia's breath caught in her throat as she realized it was a concealed doorway, one that blended seamlessly into the surrounding structure. Steeling her nerves, she pushed forward, her hand pressing against the seemingly solid wall. To her surprise, her fingers met no resistance, and she found herself stepping through a hidden passage, the air around her shimmering and distorting as she crossed the threshold. Sophia's eyes widened as she emerged into a cavernous chamber, its walls lined with an eclectic array of arcane artifacts and relics. "The Collector's lair," she whispered, her gaze drawn to the pulsating orb at the center of the room, the very same object the cloaked figure had been so fixated on. Sophia's heart pounded as she carefully navigated the chamber, her senses on high alert. The air crackled with an energy that seemed to seep into her very bones, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the chamber itself was watching her, assessing her presence. Approaching the glowing orb, Sophia extended a tentative hand, her fingertips barely grazing the pulsing surface. Instantly, a surge of power coursed through her, and she gasped as a vision flashed before her eyes. A glimpse of the Collector, his face twisted with a sinister glee as he manipulated the orb's mechanisms. Recoiling, Sophia stumbled backward, her mind racing as she tried to make sense of what she had just witnessed. The Collector's plan was becoming clearer. He intended to harness the very heartbeat of the Enchanter's Circus, to bend the raw magic that sustained the wonder and enchantment of the Big Top to his own nefarious ends. Turning on her heel, Sophia hurried back towards the hidden passage, her steps quickening with each passing moment. She had to warn Alexander, to share what she had uncovered before the Collector could put his plan into motion. As Sophia emerged back into the familiar backstage corridors, she nearly collided with the Enchanter himself, his eyes widening with alarm at the look of sheer panic on her face. "Sophia, what is it?" he demanded, his voice laced with urgency. "Have you found something?" Quickly, Sophia recounted her discovery, the words tumbling out in a rush. "The Collector? He has some kind of hidden chamber, filled with arcane artifacts. And at the center of it all is a pulsing orb, one that seems to be the very heartbeat of the circus." Alexander's expression darkened, his jaw clenching with a mixture of fear and resolve. "Then we have no time to lose. The Collector means to harness the power of the heartbeat, to twist it to his own ends." He grasped Sophia's shoulders, his grip firm but reassuring. "You have done well, my dear. Now, we must act quickly before the Collector can make his move." The Enchanter's eyes narrowed, a glimmer of determination sparking to life within their depths. Gather the rest of the performers. We must prepare to defend the heartbeat of the Enchanter's circus, no matter the cost. As Sophia hurried to carry out Alexander's orders, the Enchanter's expression grew grim. He knew that the Collector's ambitions posed a grave threat, one that could not only destroy the circus he had dedicated his life to, but also unravel the very fabric of the magical world he had sworn to protect. The night of the Enchanter's next scheduled performance dawned, the air thick with anticipation and an undercurrent of unease. Sophia watched nervously from the shadows as Alexander took the stage, his confident stride and impeccable showmanship masking the weight of the burden he carried. As the opening notes of the orchestra's fanfare echoed through the big top, the audience erupted into thunderous applause, unaware of the looming danger that threatened to shatter the very foundation of the Enchanter's circus. Alexander swept into his first illusion, his movements fluid and precise as he made a trio of swords dance in the air. But even as the crowd gasped in awe, Sophia could see the tension in his shoulders, the faint furrow of his brow that betrayed his true state of mind. Backstage, the other performers waited with bated breath, their senses heightened as they scanned the crowd for any sign of the Collector's presence. Sophia paced the narrow confines of her dressing room, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. Suddenly, a sharp crackle of energy rippled through the air, and Sophia felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. Rushing to the edge of the stage, she peered out into the audience, her eyes widening as she caught a glimpse of a shadowy figure moving through the crowd. "The Collector," she hissed, her voice barely above a whisper. Sophia watched in horror as the cloaked figure made his way towards the center of the tent, his movements unnaturally fluid and graceful. She could feel the very air thrum with a palpable power, a raw energy that seemed to emanate from the Collector himself. Turning, Sophia raced backstage, her lungs burning as she sought out Alexander. "He's here!" she cried, her voice laced with urgency. "The Collector has made his move." The Enchanter's expression hardened, his eyes narrowing with a fierce determination. "Then we must be ready," he said, his baritone voice steady and resolute. "Gather the others. It's time to defend the heartbeat of the Enchanter's circus." As the performers assembled, Alexander's gaze swept across their faces, a silent acknowledgement of the gravity of the task that lay before them. With a deep breath, he turned and strode back towards the stage, his steps purposeful and unwavering. The Collector had arrived, and the fate of the Enchanter's circus hung in the balance.